Okay.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, September 9th, 2020 Lower Southampton Township Board of Supervisors public meeting. The meeting is being held via teleconference. The advertisement to hold the meeting via teleconference was held as required. Let's begin the meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before the meeting, the board held a work session. It was advertised and began promptly at 6:30 p.m. A lot was discussed in the work session. Since this was our first meeting since August 12th, I'll go over as brief of a summary as I can. We spoke about some adjustments to the agenda. Item number 2 on the agenda was removed at Chase Bank's request, and that will be addressed at a later date. So item 2 on tonight's agenda is no longer on there. Item 3 on the agenda, the lieutenant will speak about that. Lieutenant Pennington is sitting in for Chief Criminal tonight when that item comes up. And we also received some updates on redevelopment authority grant submissions, on updates on the request and the prices, and our job tonight to prioritize those requests in order of need. We then heard an update from Public Works, Mark McDonald, Public Works Director, on some sewer upgrades that were made in the area of 2nd Street and Rosewood Avenue, completed recently by James D. Morrissey, and also that the milling and paving program for the contract that was awarded to Morrissey will begin tomorrow down in Pine Tree Farms. Those streets, the location of those streets was listed on the township's website and also on Facebook page, and those streets were posted so that the residents know that that paving will be taking place starting on September 10th, weather permitting, of course. We then heard an update from Lieutenant Pennington, who again is sitting in for the chief tonight, on item number 3 of the disposition of records from the police department, and an update on item number 5, which is part of the RDA grant proposal. Part of it involves a request from the Towns Against Graffiti, of which Lower Southampton Township Police Department is a member in the township. We then heard an update from the fire marshal. The fire marshal advised us that the fire marshal's food drive is still underway. It's doing very well. In fact, it's doing great. They were able to just complete filling 3 full bins, and those bins will be going to the food bank at St. Stephen's Church. Those bins were located outside of the old district court building at the township complex. So please continue to support the fire marshal's food drive. A lot of families, needy families, have benefited from that. So thank you. And the fire marshal also advised us that his office responded to 53 calls in the month of August for service. We received an update from Parks and Recreation Director Matt Gilbert about item number 6 on tonight's agenda. Mr. Koutsaratos will speak about that a little bit later. And also an update on the 9/11 Travis Manion Heroes Run scheduled for this Saturday, September 12th. That'll come up in the manager's report. And as we said in our work session, last but not least, we heard an update from Mike Italia, our zoning officer, about his efforts to update our fee schedule, which hasn't been updated in approximately 2 years. Mr. Italia has been successful and has done a great job putting a new fee schedule together and plans to release that in October. He also advised us that he stepped up his enforcement of violations and has asked residents and is educating them on how to come into compliance. And if needed, some violations have been filed and will be filed. And also the uniformity of paperwork in the zoning office with the police department and the other township departments. So Mr. Italia is doing a great job. Before we get to public comment tonight, next up on the agenda, I should add also that there was no executive session tonight. All we had was a work session. Next up, before we get to public comment on the agenda, is the recognition of the hometown heroes and the sponsors of their banners. I have a list of 6 banners that are about to be placed in the township. Here's a little update and synopsis of the hometown heroes that are being honored by these banners. Banner number 1 is a banner of William F. Anheuser. Mr. Anheuser served the United States Army from 1941 to 1945 during World War II, and Mr. Anheuser's banner is sponsored by his loving family. The banner is pictured on our teleconference right now. Banner number 2 is a banner of Machinist Mate Henry G. Friels. Machinist Mate Friels served in the United States Navy from 1942 to 1945 during World War II. Mr. Friels' banner is sponsored by the Friels family. Banner number 3. Banner number 3 is PFC Private First Class Vincent Morano Jr. PFC Morano served the United States Army from 1953 to 1956 during the Korean War. PFC Morano's banner is sponsored by Valerie Morano White. Banner number 4, MM3 Walter A. Rakuski Sr. served in the United States Navy from 1962 to 1968 during the Vietnam War. And I should add that MM stands for Machinist Mate, I'm sorry. 1962 to 1968 during the Vietnam War, and was a member of the American Legion Post number 440. Machinist Mate Rakuski's banner is sponsored by his loving family. Banner number 5. Banner number 5 is Buck Sergeant Stanley Samuel Sherrard. Sergeant Sherrard served in the United States Air Force from 1954 to 1957 during the Korean War. Sergeant Sherrard's banner is sponsored by his loving family. And the last banner for tonight, banner number 6, is Specialist 5th Class William E. Turner. Specialist Turner served in the United States Army from 1965 to 1967 during the Vietnam War. Specialist Turner's banner is sponsored by, in loving memory, by IVA. That's a synopsis of tonight's banner. Our hometown heroes and their sponsors. Those banners will be hung as soon as practicable. I believe we still have enough room on Bustleton Pike, but we're running out of the room. We still have some other banners that are coming in to be ordered. It's a great program, and it really makes our town look like a hometown and honors the heroes that served in our hometown. And it's a great program. So thank you for putting that slideshow together. Next up on the agenda would be public comment. Mr. Gaudo, is there any public comment that came in via email? Joe?
Can you hear me, Ray?
Was there any public comment that came in via email today?
None for tonight.
Okay. Since there is no public comment, we'll move on to item 1. Item 1 is the consent agenda. I need to mention that the consent agenda consists of several items because of our once-a-month meeting over the summer. So they would be items 1A through 1I. Item 1D, we severed one item from item 1D, which is from the accounts payable for August 26, 2020. So the item that we're going to sever is from page 1, vendor 5298, which is Genova Burns. So other than that, I'll go over the consent agenda item by item, except for the Genova Burns August 26th fee. Item 1A is approval of the minutes for August 12th, 2020. Item 1B, approval of accounts payable September 9th, 2020. Item 1C, approval of certain reoccurring monthly bills September 9th, 2020. Item 1D, ratify approval of accounts payable August 26th, 2020, except for vendor 5298 on page 1. Item 1A, ratify approval of certain reoccurring monthly bills, August 26, 2020. Item 1F, approval of escrow release in the amount of $17,567.79 for County Builders, Emerald Walk, Street Road and Philmont Avenue, Feasterville, PA. Item 1G, approval of escrow release in the amount of $1,344.15 for Toner Homes, 403 West County Line Road, Huntington Valley, PA. Item 1H, approval of escrow release in the amount of $1,637.63 for Frank DeSandro, 1843 North Buck Road, Feasterville, PA. Item 1I, approval of escrow release in the amount of $1,330.60 for Yuri Tishko, 4 Rose Street, Feasterville, PA. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was just read into the record by myself?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Shannon. Is there a second?
I'll second that by Mr. Kutsaratus.
Seconded. Motion was seconded by Mr. Kutsaratus. As we've been doing in teleconference, we'll do a roll call vote by alphabetical order. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And this is Ray Weldy. I vote yes. So that first motion passes with a vote of 5-0. The item that I mentioned from item 1D, in the accounts payable from August 26, 2020, there is a vendor number 5298, Genova Burns LLC, for personnel litigation in the amount of $883.50. That item has been requested to be severed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately. So regarding page 1, vendor 5298, Genova Burns, in the amount as I had stated, is there a motion to approve that payment? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve that payment, I should say?
Can we get some more information, Ray, about who's for, what's it for?
Absolutely. Mr. Gaudo or whomever, could you weigh in on what can be said about that?
It's dealing or pertaining with HR and personnel litigation issues.
And why is it being taken out at this point?
A board member has requested that it be set aside. That particular board member could speak to it.
What was?
Hi, Ed. It's Kim Kutsaratus. I had asked for it to be pulled out since it's a personnel issue. I don't really want to overly dive into it. It's in regards to a former employee. I don't really know how far I can really get into this. You know, maybe our solicitor can kind of spell out a little more for you.
Well, just give me an idea of what it's for. You don't have to use names or anything. Just what's the purpose for it?
It's I guess it would be to Genova Burns is the attorney we use for a private litigation in regards to a form. They're I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, but they're defending the township or representing the township.
Yes, they're defending the township in a legal action that's been filed against the township by a former employee.
Oh, okay. And this is not being paid now because the item is not over. Is that it? Or
Yes.
okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you. That's all I need.
If you'd like to, Ed, I could reach out to you afterwards and speak.
Yeah, that would be good if you could do that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
So would anyone like to make any kind of motion regarding the payment of vendor 5298 Genova Burns on page 1 of the August 26th accounts payable?
I'll make that motion.
To what, Deb? What's your motion?
Oh, you said to make a motion to make the payment of $883.50.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I.
To pay the Genova Burns number 5298.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Would anyone like to second it? Okay, this is Ray Weldy. I'll second it. Motion's been seconded by Ray Weldy. Let's take a roll call vote. Ms. Cummings?
No.
Okay. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
At this point, I'd have to say no because I don't have enough information to say yes or no. So I'll have to say no.
Okay. And this is Ray Weldy. I would vote yes. So motion fails with a vote of 2-4-3 against.
Is there any, oh, I guess I can't say, not to say, was there any information that Ed, we can't do it now, but if there's any information that Ed needed, it's too late at this point. We voted.
Well, we just have to table it until, I'm sorry about this, but I just don't have enough information to make a decision.
No problem. Item 3 on the agenda, since item 2 has been removed at Chase Bank's request. Item 3 on the agenda is consider approval of resolution 2020-25, authorizing the disposition of public records for the police department. I believe maybe Lieutenant Pennington could give just a brief summary of what this resolution entails, and then I believe Ms. Kaplan had a little to add to it.
So the police department is looking to get rid of records, payroll records, accident reports. All these type of records are dating back to 1995, and we're trying to follow the guidelines for the Municipal Records Retention Act and become in compliance with that. And we asked for an ordinance to be drafted so we can destroy the records.
Thank you, Mike.
And Mike, is there a retention schedule that the state puts out? You may have already talked about this and I couldn't hear you, but is there a retention schedule that's put out by the state that we're following?
Yes,
Okay.
We're following the Municipal Records Retention Act.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I had talked to Lieutenant Pennington, and I just wanted to add on the resolution number 8, number 3. All other cases will be retained for 20 years after close of investigation. And I'd like to add, and until exhaustion of appeals process. And number 22, where it says training records will be retained as long as of administrative, and I wanted to add, and legal value.
Well,
That's correct.
I guess what I'm just asking is that part of the schedule for retention?
Yes, it is.
It is? Oh, okay. That's all I needed. Thank you. Yep.
Well, we keep our training records for as long as the officer is employed, and then they get archived after the officer leaves in case there is some type of lawsuit, legal action, or something that would come about once the officer separates. So
Okay.
that would cover what Ms. Kaplan wants to. The ad would cover that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
Thanks, Deb, for going through that fine tooth comb. That was great on your part to really go through that with Mr. Pennington.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion then to approve resolution 2020-25 to authorize the disposition of public records for the Lower Southampton Township Police Department?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Shannon, second.
I'll second with the additions.
Okay, Ms. Kaplan seconds with the additions that have been made to that resolution. We'll do roll call vote then. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy? I vote yes, so motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Mike and Deb. Item 4, consider approval of resolution 2020-26, master casting agreement with PennDOT. I believe maybe Mr. McDonald can weigh in a little bit on exactly what this agreement is, so that
Okay.
the residents listening in know what we're talking about.
Okay, I'll try to give you a quick explanation. This is a contract between Lower Southampton Township and PennDOT that specifies how much money we pay them for each manhole adjustment needed when PennDOT is milling and paving their roads. As you know, our main sewer lines run right through most state roads. So the dollar amount is $1,028 per manhole adjustment, and we supply any needed new manhole castings and lid. PennDOT has done it this way for many years, and we renew the agreement every 3 years. The work they have scheduled right now is in 2022 Brownsville Road from Bristol Road going north to the township border, and also in 2024 Bridgetown Pike from Bustleton Pike going north to the township border. So I've estimated 27 manholes will need adjusting, and we're budgeting monies over the next 3 years for that. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Board members have any questions or any?
So what's each charge, Mark? For each manhole coverage?
Each manhole adjusting is, for everyone they do, it's $1,028. It goes by the size of the manhole. So that's it. And then we supply, if a new manhole is needed, new manhole lid and casting, we supply that, which we always have them stocked in the public works yard. And they cost us right now, the last batch I got, they're $313 for a set of manhole casting and lid.
Right.
But these agreements get redone every 3 years, and the only thing I've seen change over the years is the dollar amount goes up naturally. But this is standard procedure. It's been going on for a long time.
Okay, so we have 3 years to pay for this?
Yes, and we have money budgeted over the next 3 years.
Thank you. Sorry to repeat, but I couldn't hear you too much before, so I apologize for that.
No problem, sir.
Any other board member questions? Doesn't appear to be any. Then there'll be a motion to approve resolution 2020-26 for the master casting agreement with PennDOT.
I'll make that motion.
Motion. Thank you. Motion made by Ms. Cummings. Second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Shannon. We'll do roll call. Ms. Cummings.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon.
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I would vote yes. That motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Item 5 would be the Redevelopment Authority grant submissions. I believe Mr. Gaudo has a synopsis of what the request would be this year. So, Joe, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, sir. As far as this given year, what we would like to do is take the approach to keep it simple and hopeful the RDA will fund the various 4 projects that we have here before you. And of course, you would need to rank them during the course of tonight or going into next week's or next meeting. But first of all, what I would like to do in an effort to help out both firehouses, Feasterville as well as Lower South, over the past couple of years, they've not received large items from the RDA and or have not received anything as funding. So what the township would like to offer in our next budget cycle for 2021 is to fund the capital reserve fund in the amount of $35,000 each for both firehouses, so they can use those particular proceeds for capital items that the 2 firehouses may need in a year. So I wanted to make sure that the firehouses are taken care of. Although they're not part of this RDA grant, they are going to be part of the 2021 budget cycle. For 2021, of course, we had the road paving program for $350,000. In the fire marshal's office, we got a mini pumper vehicle with an uplift or upfitting for $186,882. A picture of a typical example of what we're talking is below and shown there. As far as the police vehicles, it would be 3 vehicles they would be putting a submission in for with the upfitting of force, as well as Total Station, which is a recreation accident technology program that they would purchase. So the total dollar amount that the police would be asking for is $273,862. Public Works is looking for a pickup, a Ford F-350, 4-wheel drive with upfitting, and that would be inclusive of the plow and the V-box in the amount of $52,868. At the end, actually yesterday, we received notification from the Towns Against Graffiti, TAG. They would be making a request to the RDA, and they're seeking a resolution of support in the amount of $175,000. That is between the 4 towns being Bensalem, Lower South, Middletown, and I believe it is Bristol Township. So that would be 4 towns, but that's an ancillary thing that would be put forward as a resolution on the 23rd if approved for the meeting. So that's all we have to say as far as the RDA grant submissions, and we would need a ranking going forward.
I have a question for you, Joe. I don't know if you can answer it, but you have 5 items listed, starting with the paving program first and then going down to the Towns Against Graffiti grant last. Are those in any particular order of need based on your experience, or are they just randomly listed there?
I mean, of course, the paving program is high up on the range. The fire marshal, as well as the police vehicles, are high up, as well as public works. I leave the ranking component up to you guys, basically, but I would say probably first and foremost would probably be the road paving program. In this given year, you know, with the gasoline being much cheaper, we were able to do 20 roads. Hopefully, going into the next fiscal year, it'll be the same type of situation, so that we could throw possibly $500,000 to $700,000 on our various road issues that we continue to have. So that's all I would say on as far as the ranking.
Thank you.
So the 175,000 is for 4 townships?
That's for 4 sponsored townships, yeah.
What would our piece of that be? Do you have any idea yet?
That's an amount that they put up, that they are requesting. That's based on their operational needs. All we are is they're asking for a resolution of support. You know, in a given year, you know, in talking with the police, you may spend $1,000 or they may spend $5,000 in our community, depending on the amount of graffiti that's thrown up. But they're just looking for a resolution of support. We've done that in the past. In 2017, I believe, was the last time we did it. So this is something I think that the police feel positive about and the community feels positive about. So I don't know if it would be taking away dollars from the township per se, but it is a good program.
So Joe, the tag money then doesn't come, that any of that grant money doesn't come directly to Lower Southampton. It goes to the tag organization, and then they use that money to help clean up graffiti here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we had, what, $3,000, somebody said, that was donated in the past? And
Yeah,
this is a bigger item because we've done it 5 years ago?
No, well, it was done in 2017, so it's 3 years ago. But what we typically do is budget an allocation of around $3,000. The bigger townships contribute $5,000. That's a donation in addition to what they receive as far as the monies from the RDA.
Okay. So we don't have any idea what it would be from us, other than $3,000, right?
That $175,000 is goes solely for them, Ed. They have received it in past years. I don't know if it detracts from the township or not. Only the RDA and the graffiti people know that part. I do not know the answer for that, sir.
So this comes from the RDA then, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, could I ask, our fire marshal a quick question in regards to the pros of the mini pumper vehicle again?
With our guys being staffing that during the day, instead of responding right to the firehouses and then waiting for people to show up there to get a truck out, we would be able to take this right to a scene. It's going to have a pump on it with water. So, car fires, small house fires, we can put out. Bigger house fires, we can at least start to put out until, the fire companies do show up.
Okay.
So it's more for quicker response to incidents.
And this would be able to handle about 90%, 90 to 95% of our typical fires that they would come across.
Correct.
And the fire, our two fire departments, I mean, I guess they're 100% supportive of this.
From when I talked to them last time, yes.
Okay. And one last quick question, right? Will you guys have your turnout gear in the vehicles ready to go?
Yeah, they'll be in one of the side compartments there.
I'm sorry, where will they be again?
In one of them side compartments that roll up,
Oh,
the gear
okay.
will be in the truck.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate
problem.
that.
So according to the funds that we would receive, would you keep the list the way it is, or would you adjust something then according to what the amount would be?
Are we gonna prioritize these tonight or next meeting?
Well, you could probably, I would just say tonight, you maybe basically digest the numbers, digest the applications, but we're going to need to rank it for at least for the 23rd, because by the 30th, we have to submit the applications.
Oh, okay. All right. So we can do it the next meeting. It's not mandatory right now, right?
Not right now, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And that's all I have to say on item 5.
So would the board members then like to digest this and then weigh in on it at the next meeting?
I personally would like to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so then that's what we'll do. We have the numbers in front of us. We know the order that's being requested. We can think about that and then report back to Joe on the 23rd, and then the application can be in by the 30th of September, correct?
Right, and just discussions on this part, just to make sure, it may be actually better for tonight to maybe kind of do the rankings so that we could set that up in the resolution, because then if not, then you're going to have an open-ended resolution before you.
In 2 weeks, okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so you may want to get that done tonight, and then so then it's kind of etched in stone, but it's not an open-ended resolution there, because if we don't do anything for the night, it won't have the meat behind it. Let's say for that resolution.
Joe, can I hear your opinion of the listing and how you would list it?
Well, I ultimately will make the determinations, but I mean, that's left for you guys to do. But as far as the road paving program, I would have it high up. I see the value on the police vehicles every day when they're out on the street, as well as their technology requests. The fire marshal's office also, I think that brings added value, having that type of vehicle on the street, and it gives them a rapid response. Public Works, we just got, I think we put on the bidding item possibly 5 different vehicles, so they're always in need of a pickup, and again, that handles your streets and helps you get your snow effort. So I mean, all of them have value. I personally didn't rank them. I just as they came in, that's how I listed them as an item for tonight.
Could you go back to that list, Joe or Peter, and put that list back up on the screen, that slide?
Sure.
Please. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I myself, I wouldn't mind flip-flopping items 2 and 3. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but the police vehicles maybe being second and the fire marshal mini pumper being third, because we do have fire coverage. I mean, and that would be an added benefit and quicker response. But the police vehicles are constantly, 50 or 100,000 miles a year, that never ends.
And we typically get funded on at least, typically past years with at least two vehicles we get typically from them.
Yeah.
Are they total, usually police vehicles?
Say again, Ed?
Are they usually police vehicles? I know a couple of years ago, we didn't give the police department any new cars.
I don't recall that. They from my recollection, they whether through RDA or through the township, the police have gotten vehicles. So unless Mike knows, in my knowledge, every year we've gotten vehicles for the police.
Is that right, Mike? I don't remember.
There was a time, probably 5 or 6 years ago, where we didn't get any RDA vehicles, and we didn't get any through the township. But that's been quite a while ago. I would say 5 or 6 years at least.
Okay.
I have a question.
But there was 1 year.
All right.
We had members from the one of the fire companies that had come out to speak with us about the RDA money. Was this something that they were asking for when they had come out? Any pumper? Does anyone remember? Was in one of the work sessions?
This item is for the fire marshal's office.
Okay, totally different. Okay, thank you.
And especially because they have lack of coverage during the day, the fire departments.
Yeah.
And the fire companies are getting taken care of under the budget that we're going to be proposing for the 2021 budget. They're going to get an allocation, and the allocation they could use for whatever capital items that they're looking for. Right now, I mean, you've had Feasterville where they have gotten nothing over the last 5 years. Lower South, they've been getting small ticket items. So under this approach, they're getting 35 and 35. So I think it's more than fair for the two fire companies to be taken care of that way too.
I knew they came for something, so that's great, Joe.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, with this fire marshal mini pumper vehicle, because the fire departments have lack of coverage during the day, this would be a quicker and this is a quicker response for residents in need.
So we got to make a decision as far as the ranking. I mean, it's your call. We got to come to some sort of happy concession.
Does each member here, while we're on here, just want to kind of verbally weigh in on what, if you had to rank them, what your ranking would be, and maybe we could come to a consensus?
Yeah, can I just ask a question about Public Works? What's the urgency of that vehicle?
There's always a need as far as the pickup. So I mean, we did get rid of some vehicles this year. So I mean, there's always a need, and plus it also, I mean, it does help us with the street as far as plowing. So there's definitely a need for the vehicle.
I have a question about the public vehicles. How desperate are, Mike? How desperate are we in need of 3 vehicles? I mean, we have 3 that are like not are ready to just be retired?
Well, yes, we run 22 vehicles total. 12 are patrol vehicles. So if and because of COVID, we're using every one of our cars instead of we're having a different rotation. So that way, when an officer completes a shift, the car sits for 12 hours, gets decontaminated, and then they come back in the next day and drive the same car. So we're putting a lot of miles on the older cars as well. We also, so the number I gave you is probably high. That was a worst case scenario because of COVID. Again, I can't get any pricing yet for any Ford Explorers, which are cheaper than the pickup truck option, any Tahoes, which would be a little bit cheaper. And we're also looking at replacing our police wagon that was damaged for prisoner transport in an accident a year and a half ago. So, and it's been particularly difficult handling prisoners, again, in this COVID environment without having any wagon to transport prisoners in. Instead of putting them in the back of a van and having a complete cage around them, they are sitting right behind the police officers. So we're looking to replace the one wagon, which we don't have any prisoner transport van at all now. And we're also looking to replace one of our detectives' cars, which again will bring the cost down when I get those numbers. Because we have a detective's car that's going on 13 years old. And it's got over close to 100 and some thousand miles on it. And then we need to replace one of our regular patrol vehicles as well. So, if we only get one car a year and we're replacing 12 patrol cars, we're going to start getting cars that are going to have mechanical issues, breakdown, there's safety issues with those cars. The technology is older. And we try to stay in this 3-car rotation, which with 12 patrol vehicles gets us new cars every 3 to 4 years instead of every 6 years. So our fleet's in great shape. The mechanics doing a great job with it. But we do have some cars that are aging out. We just replaced the transmission on one car that was 5,000 miles below the end of the warranty at 100,000 miles. So that car is going to be remaining in service with over 100,000 miles. So we do need to get the 3 cars if that's possible.
So,
Total station is something that was budgeted for last year, which we did not get again because of some of the budget issues with the income. We've had several lawsuits in the last 3 or 4 years that the township's been named in, and this has been the one we had that doesn't work anymore. That's been instrumental in helping us plot accident scenes. The one we're looking at can be also used at crime scenes. We can use it for the fire departments. We can use it for pre-planning buildings. So it's more than just a total station for the police. Almost every emergency service in the department in the township will have access to this if they need it for something.
and then, Mike, if I can say, in the past, what we've done as a township, whether, we put in for 3, they typically have funded at least 2. The township has basically covered the 3rd vehicle. So we
Correct.
typically do get 2 plus the 1, which is typically on the township dime, let's say it that way. But we typically do end up getting then the allotted amount of vehicles on a given year. You make the selections as you see fit.
Well, if I can chime in, Mike just sold me. I'm okay with flip-flopping the fire marshal for the police vehicles and keeping everything else the same.
With the fact that we don't have a wagon, that concerns me. So I'm good with flipping it as well.
Yeah, you did a good job, Mike. You really did clarifying all that. I appreciate it.
That's why I asked them.
It's hard to believe how
We
hard those
appreciate it,
cars
too.
are used. Yeah, thanks, Mike. So if the majority feels that way, then we would rank first 2021 road paving. Second would be the police vehicles. Third would be the mini pumper, the fire marshal mini pumper. Fourth would be the public works pickup. And 5th would be the tag joint grant with the other 4 towns or the other 3 towns.
That's my ranking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too now.
Okay,
Yeah, I think I was sold also.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
after you're done your profession in the police field, you should go into sales.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, or politics.
I'll consult.
Thank you. Now, we don't need a motion for that, right? This is just our ranking to make the request.
Yeah, this is just the ranking, and then we'll have the resolution, which you would approve for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, the rest of the board members for getting this done tonight instead of waiting 2 weeks. Item number 7, and next on the agenda would be to award the 2020-2021 Bucks County Consortium rock salt bid. And there is a request for the rock salt bid to be awarded for this coming season. I guess I'll let Mr. McDonald go over that instead of me. Mark, would you like to summarize that? You prepared this report?
Can I have Mike Pennington do it? All right. Doylestown Township, obviously representing Bucks County Consortium, they solicited bids for rock salt for the contract period of October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2021. There were 4 bidders, with the lowest being Morton Salt. And that is for a price of $47.75 a ton delivered. And that's actually 75 cents less a ton than last year's. This is pretty much a no-brainer. I recommend that we award the contract to them, being the low bidder.
And this would be for approximately our estimated amount that we would be maybe using this year is about 2,000 tons for a total estimated cost of $95,500. Mark?
That's correct. Now, last winter, we were lucky if we used 300 tons.
Oh,
We lucked out. So, you know,
Hey, Mark,
you never know what Mother Nature's going to do. So I hope to have another winter like the last one.
I
hey,
agree.
Mark, a
Yes,
couple years ago, we had an awful lot of snow and we had trouble getting the salt. I don't know. Is there some way to cover behind to try to get some more? Is there some second way to do something like that?
Well, we have an undelivered price for the same of $47 a ton for this, and that we would go pick up. So a lot of it's possible that Morton Salt would have the salt stockpiled. Usually that's up off the river. I can't remember the name of the area. So up.
But that's something we would have to pick up, right?
Yes, we would pick it up.
Okay.
Yes, but that
'Cause
we cross
I
that
think they were.
we cross that bridge when we get to it. But there are ways to get it if needed.
Okay.
Okay.
But I predict we're going to have a nice warm winter.
I like that prediction.
Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
We have a full stockpile in the bin of salt. We are loaded
Yeah.
up in
Great.
the public works yard right now.
We can take that to the bank, right?
You can take that to the bank.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
then, would anyone like to make a motion to award the rock salt bid, the rock salt contract for this season to Morton Salt for the delivered price of $47.75 per ton and the undelivered price of $47 per ton?
I'll make that motion.
A motion made by Mr. Shannon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
that.
Who was that?
Kim Kutsaratus?
Okay, seconded by Mr. Kutsaratus. Thank you. We'll do roll call. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I vote yes. So the motion passes with a vote of 5-0. And I apologize. I skipped item 6. So we'll go back to item 6 on the agenda. I went from 5 to 7. Item 6, which would be our last item on the agenda tonight, would be to consider approval for Backing the Blue event at Russell Elliott Memorial Park. And I'll turn this over to Mr. Kutsaratus. Mr. Kutsaratus would like to explain this event. Kim?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As we spoke about at our last meeting, throughout the nation, we've seen a lot of things going on, and I personally feel that the men and women that serve us daily, in a whole, are getting a pretty bad rap for a lot of things. I've always supported our police, not just here in the township, but throughout our whole country. And I thought it would be a terrific idea to organize a motorcycle run/rally leaving from Bensalem Police Department on October 17th. Kickstands up at 1 o'clock. I've already been in touch with Fred Horan, the safety director of Bensalem Township. He is absolutely 100% on board. He's got me in touch with Lieutenant Bush, who's in charge of the motorcycle brigade, and they were going to give us a police guided run from Bensalem Police Department through Bensalem into Humeville, Langhorne, down the street road, where we would eventually end up at Russell Elliott Park. At that time, we would have a few different events. We have a few speakers that are going to be coming. I just think it would be a terrific event, as long as the weather is nice, to have and to honor our men and women that protect us every day. I know motorcycle enthusiasts are always fans of the police, and I've been talking about it to a lot of people. A lot of people seem very excited about it. If this would pass, once again, as it's already been stated, social distancing is a must. We will be enforcing the capacity masks are recommended, and I would like to get the approval from the board to put a motion on the floor for such event.
I know Kim, you talked to me about this before.
Yes.
Do we have insurance coverage or some protection in case we get a bunch of idiots that are going to do some damage to us? Or
Absolutely, great question. And I did speak to Joe Galdo, and Joe had said that it's basically pretty similar to the most recent Back to Blue event that we had over at Lower Southampton in the fields. And to my knowledge, Joe said that the insurance wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, we do something similar for the parade, and we have to get coverage for that.
Oh,
that's the reason for my question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I had spoke to Joe even before I, started overly researching this. I wanted to make sure, we did get the approval, and, Joe can, feel free to comment on it, but he had told me that, everything shouldn't be an issue.
We ran the parameters by the insurance broker, Ed, and the insurance broker was fine with the conditions of the previous event that we had, and he said it would be applicable to this event as long as we stay within the terms of the conditions of the insurance policy, as well as complying with the CDC guidelines.
Yeah.
And Joe, the only question I have is our liability limited to what happens in Lower Southampton Township, right? If there was something in, God forbid, on I don't know, Ben Salem when they go down Humeville Road or anything like that, that's not part of what we're signing on for.
Well, I would probably have to rerun that component by the broker if with what you're questioning. All I know is that if anything were to happen within the limits of the township and within the limits of that recreation location, the township would be covered. If it was outside the township parameters, I would be a little bit uncertain on that aspect. I would not think it wouldn't be on our end. And the respective entity, like Ben Salem, would have to have an insurance compliance on their end as well. So, but that may be something that we may have to further run by just to reinforce and make sure.
Okay,
thanks. Kim, have you had any issues or comments about what happens if we get a bunch of idiots attacking us? I know there's a bunch of cops going to be around, but I'm just curious about it.
Right. I did speak to Matt Gilbert in regards to that. And just like we would have to pull a permit, they would also have to pull a permit. They would also have to follow the same guidelines. I do believe, let's just say we are at capacity. Well, then they have to also follow the guidelines, and they may not be able to participate if they're not following the recommended guidelines by the CDC.
I was thinking more of some of these idiots start attacking us.
I would think the people that show up at this event would be very pro police.
Okay, good.
I understand your point, but Debbie and I were talking about this the other day. I totally believe that the type of people that show up at this event would be very supportive of not just our police, but police in general.
And Lieutenant Pennington, did you want to say anything about that? Because I know at the last Back to Blue rally, our guys and girls are guys and girls, I'm sorry, our officers are on top of this. It's not like you guys aren't aware of what's going on around the area during the Back the Blue event.
That's correct. So if with the last event that we had a couple weeks ago, we planned for that event. If we had counter people not there supporting the Back to Blue, we had plans for them, place for them to protest and do what they need to do. So if the event goes off at Russell Elliott Park, we'll plan for every contingency, and we'll have people in place to help us and keep everything safe for everybody.
And in regards to the insurance too, if, I think Ray had brought up if there was I guess, God forbid, maybe an accident or something, would we be held liable? I mean, I am far from being a lawyer. I won't play one on TV, but I also would think that it's required by Pennsylvania that you have motorcycle insurance, each driver. So I would like to think that the individual would be covered by his or her own motorcycle insurance.
Kim, do you know if there's any in the usual bike runs? Are there any waivers that need to be signed? Do you know of anything like that?
Any run that I've ever been affiliated with they've never asked for any type of waiver. Poker runs, memorial runs to the shore, anything along those lines. I've never been asked or ever been told that there has to be a waiver signed.
Mr. Kutsaratis, it's Matt Gilbert. If you don't mind if I just jump in here.
Sure.
I know that when Mr. Galdo reviewed the insurance policy, it was specifically for the use of the park. The same as the last Back to Blue event is for the use of the park. This isn't related to traffic or other incidences. The way that I posed your request this evening was that you were requesting the use of the park upon your arrival. What happens in between here and there, I can't help you, but
right.
I think we can safely support this event in the park, following all CDC guidelines, sanitization stations, signage, requiring social distancing, everything's safe, sanitized restrooms. The park's usage will be in accordance. So
right.
I don't know what else the board would be approving as far as the route or the traffic or participants, but that's, again, I'm not going to weigh in on a legal opinion there.
Right.
That's out of my jurisdiction.
And also too, I mean, once again, this just isn't, motorcyclists showing up and going on by themselves. This is absolutely a guided run by the Bensalem Police Department. They will contact Middletown, Chief Krimmel. I've already spoken to him. So they, all the three townships that this will be going through will all be aware to shut down roads and make sure that the travels happen safely.
The question I have, Kim, are the other towns then approving their component just as we are approving tonight?
I don't believe they have to. I know when I had done a memorial ride through our township about 2 years ago, it was guided by our guys here in Lower South, and we never had to approve it. So when I spoke to Fred Horan and Lieutenant Bush, they had just said that, the approval was there, no issues, and that it would be a guided run, by the Bensalem Police Department. They never mentioned anything to me that they would have to put it to a vote or anything like that. As a matter of fact, Mr. Horan said that they were absolutely 100% behind it. No issues. He didn't say he was going to put it to a vote though.
Okay. I was just wondering from insurance perspective on their side. That's all.
I mean, they're obviously a part of it.
Okay.
You know, they'll be there 100%.
Thank you, Kim. Any other board members have any questions?
I don't really have a question. It's just there's so many idiots out there that are banging into people and hurting people and driving cars into groups of people and that kind of stuff. And that's my only concern with it. I think it's a great idea. Trust me, I think it's a super idea to honor the police in 3 townships at one time. I think it's great.
You know,
If we just have, I don't know what I'm looking for, but if we have those kinds of issues, if we have that kind of an issue, what do we do? I mean, I know there's plenty of cops there, and that's great. Do we need something else? I don't know if we need something. How about you, Mr. Pennington? What's your thought about this? I don't want to be the prophet of doom here, but just curious.
There's always a possibility something could happen. Again,
Right.
like Mr. Kutsarada said, I'm not a lawyer. So I don't know that the issue, the township's exposed at all, based upon my limited opinion, traveling to and from the event. They're on public roadways. If a group shows up at the park, we will have a plan in place to deal with them. They'll be able to exercise their First Amendment right to protest and do what they need to do safely, and we'll be able to handle it. We had a plan in place in case people showed up for the Back to Blue rally before, so I think we'll be fine. If we need, this is going to be a larger event, theoretically, just because of the distance everything's going to cover. So it's not going to be, you're going to have a traveling component, but those, I would just envision the riders being escorted by the motor units from various other townships in addition to Ben Salem. I would think that I know in our township for this event, just my thought would be we would cover the major intersections to get them through safely. And I would see that happening, or imagine that happening in other townships as well. So I think the event could be held safely. There's, we'll plan for things, and we'll make it work.
And Mike, we didn't have altercations at the last one. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, we did not.
And
There's no problems whatsoever.
to briefly address some of the legal issues, perhaps. So as far as the insurance coverage goes, it's difficult to ensure what happens generally in terms of traffic on lower Southampton streets and roadways. The insurance would generally cover what happens at the park, the actual event once it arrives there. In terms of getting there, in terms of getting through the township, the township has the same duty it would have for any motorists passing through. You have a duty to ensure people's safety in terms of maintain traffic controls to a reasonable degree, the best degree practicable. So, in terms of getting from A to B, getting through the township, getting to the park, obviously the township has to facilitate that, but that's difficult for a company to ensure, generally speaking, because that's the township's duty no matter what. The insurance would primarily cover what happens at the park. And as long as the township, I believe, as we discussed, maintains certain standards related to COVID and whatnot, then the insurance coverage will apply. To the extent that there's, like Mr. Shannon was discussing, some knuckleheads who show up and try to cause trouble, that would not have any impact on the township's liability or whatnot, because that's not something within the township's control. As long as the township takes reasonable precautions in terms of keeping potential protesters away or ensuring that people are following CDC guidelines, that's not something I would be overly concerned with.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And by the way, Kim, I think it's a great idea. And as long as we don't have any big issues, I'm okay with it.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I believe then there's a request for a motion for the board to approve the usage of Russell Elliott Memorial Park on October 17th with the rain date possibly of October 18th for the blue rally proposed by Mr. Kutsaratus, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I would love to make that motion.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Kutsaratus, a second.
I'll second that, and thank you, Kim.
Seconded by Mr. Shannon. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I vote yes. Motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Good luck, Kim, with this, and I hope the weather holds out.
Yeah. Thank you all very, very much for this. I truly appreciate it. I think it, once again, if the weather, as Ray said, holds out, it will be a terrific event. Thank you all.
If I could just throw one more thing in, if you need any help with anything, let me know.
Very
I'll be
good.
happy to do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That would be wrap up item 7. Before we move on to the manager's report, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider an item that we previously addressed in this meeting. And the motion would be to reconsider the vote of item 1D that we severed. And what we severed was vendor 5298 Genova Burns for the sum of $883 and some odd cents. So I'd like to make a motion to reconsider that vote and address that while we're all here tonight instead of putting it off for 2 weeks. So I'm going to make that motion now to reconsider that vote. And I would ask if anyone would second that.
I'll second it.
Go ahead.
Pardon me?
I'll second it, and I was one of the people to vote no.
Well, hold on, Ed. Hold on.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Stand by. Okay, so it was seconded by Mr. Shannon? Correct?
Do we have a motion now, Ray?
Well, the motion was to reconsider the vote. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, so the motion to reconsider the vote was made by me, seconded by Mr. Shannon. Now we would vote just on the reconsideration. Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote. So Ms. Cummings?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I vote yes. So the motion to reconsider the vote then would pass by a vote of 3-2. Okay, and the vote that I'm asking to reconsider was this severed item 1D, accounts payable from August 26, 2020. And on page 1, as I had previously stated, there was a vendor, Genova Burns, vendor number 5298 in the amount of $883 and hold on.
50 cents.
That many cents for some pending litigation that involves an ex-employee and Lower Southampton Township. So I would then now make a motion to approve that payment to Genova Burns for $883 and the amount of cents. Would anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Seconded by, oh, I'm sorry, seconded by Ms. Shannon. Okay, the motion's been made, seconded by Ms. Shannon. And again, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Cummings?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I vote yes. So that reconsidered motion passes with a vote of 3-2. Thank you. Manager's report, Joe?
Sure. All right. Okay, as far as the trash, the refuse, the recycle, the yard waste, it appears Mascaro appears to be moving in the right direction. We're getting better responses. I would like to personally thank Ms. Connie in the front office, who was very diligent and on top of things in dealing with Mascaro. We took a boatload of complaints and we got things resolved for the most part. There are occasional problem areas. We will continue to work on that area, but we appear to be moving in the right direction with Mascaro. As far as the road paving, Mark and the chair have discussed that. The road program is commencing. I believe we have 20 roads this year. The streets will be on the website as well as the TV channel. And hopefully for future coming up years, let's say it this way, that the gasoline continues to be low and we continue to get favored pricing. So we can knock out the vast majority of the bad streets in the township over the next 2 to 3 years. As far as the budget workshop, that will be commencing on 9/23 and continuing through November. As far as the next item, I will let Matt speak on the Travis Banyan 5K run. Matt, you want to mention that real quick again?
Yep, we are looking forward to our 8th annual Travis Mannion 9/11 Heroes Run right here in Feasterville. It's hosted at Russell Elliott Memorial Park. Everyone must be pre-registered. There will not be pre-registration or in-person registration available. Everyone must do it online. And actually, the deadline is very near, by midnight tonight. So if you're interested in participating, go get that taken care of. The park will be very safe that day, as safe as we could be when hosting an event like this. There will be signage in place. There will be sanitization stations, both in the park and at the start and finish line. We will have a socially distanced start. We will only be awarding the top 3 male and top 3 female finishers. Every water station will be considered grab and go, meaning the product is only touched once. And this has all been announced to the residents who've been encouraged to participate in flying flags and patriotic decorations. And all the sports organizations have been notified that the use of the park on that day before noon is not recommended. We will be using the park for just the race.
And Matt, and also the local residents that are impacted were given notification also, right?
Yep, all residents have been notified via U.S. mail, letting them know that a race is going to happen on their street this Saturday.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Yep.
And the race starts at 1 o'clock?
It starts at 9 a.m.
Oh, 9 a.m. I'm sorry, I don't know where I got 9. I volunteered, by the way.
We'll look forward to seeing you there.
What time do I have to be there?
Early.
6
8
o'clock in the
o'clock,
morning?
but you got to pre-register as a volunteer as well.
I did.
Volunteer pre-registration.
I did online.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you. And then the latest item we have is the next Red Cross blood drive is on October 21st, again at the former district court, between the hours of 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. At the last meeting on August 26th, they saved 81 lives and I'd like to thank the people that did come out to support the Red Cross blood drive. And I also would like to thank Denise for coordinating her efforts, township efforts. So, and that's all I have for tonight, Mr. Chair.
Joe, I have a question about the blood drive. Are they limiting the amount of people per hour or per donation in the building for the blood drive? I mean,
To my knowledge, everything is basically following CDC guidelines, and of all people, I would believe the Red Cross would be following those guidelines.
I'd like to come and donate. And it is by appointment only?
By appointment only, yeah. 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. That's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Joe and Sue. Next up would be supervisors' comments. Ms. Cummings, we'll start with you, Sue.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we're into our summer and beginning of fall year, which is a nice time of year. With everything that's gone on, it's good to hear positive things that we've had come out of the meeting this evening. Going back to Ray, your event that you held, I was away. I was not able to attend, but I heard wonderful things about your event. So thank you for coordinating that for the township. All events are nice and uplifting. I think some people want to get out, like everybody was cooperative. So it was wonderful that you were able to coordinate that. Love seeing the new banners that are going to be going up. It'll only enhance the look at the township. Kim, thank you for coordinating our next event that's going to go on in the township in October. So our residents can come out and support that event also. And the Saturday, other event with the Travis Mannion run. If anybody is around, it sounds like that the community can go into, unless Matt, I'm wrong about this, they can go into the neighborhood and cheer on the runners as they're going. So a lot of great things.
As long as they remain socially distanced.
Okay. A lot of great things. So I thank everybody who's coordinating all of those events. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Ms. Kaplan, Deb?
I wanted to also thank you, Ray, for the Back to Blue event. I was there, obviously, you know that. And I want to
Thanks for
thank
coming.
everyone that participated. I want to thank Kevin from the zoning department for being the DJ. I want to thank, of course, our officers. I want to thank you for being the MC and again coordinating that. And I want to thank our residents for that attended. And I also want to thank our resident Lonnie, who contributed to decorating the stage area. That was really great. So it was a really nice event. So thank you again, Ray, for doing that. And let's remember Friday is September 11th, 2001, 19 years ago. Let's always remember those that perished that day, mostly civilians and our first responders. Also the people that died due to the terrorist attack, and those of today who are still suffering due to multiple illnesses due to that horrific day. So let's take a moment on Friday to honor those. And thank you, Kim, for the idea of the bike run. Like I've said to you, I've been to quite a few of them myself, and they are a lot of fun. I really enjoy them. I won't be on the back of a bike this time, but I will be there. So it sounds like it's going to be a great time. And I really like that Ben Salem's going to be part of that as well. So it's a great coordination. So thank you. That's going to be a lot of work, but we talked about the traffic and making sure that's all done. So thank you for that. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Deb. Kim, Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yeah, you know, I have some sad news, guys. Some of you may or may not have noticed the closure of a iconic business in our community. I'm sad to say that after 61 years, Bromley's Motorcycles has officially closed. A little something that I just want to read here about about Bob and Jean and the entire family. Bob and Jean Bromley started their motorcycle shop back in 1959 on Summers Avenue, serving motorcycle enthusiasts from all over. And when I say all over, I mean, I met Mike Piazza in Bromley's, Los Angeles baseball player, coming here to buy a motorcycle off of Joe Bromley. I mean, these guys sold bikes to people all over the country, not just in our area. So these guys have been serving motorcycle enthusiasts from all over forever. As their business grew, the Bromley family also grew. They had 3 boys and 2 girls. Some of us may know the entire family, such as myself. They all grew up here in Lower Southampton. You know, when I was a youngster riding my bicycle back and forth from my house on Elmwood Avenue to our family business right past Bromley's, I can't tell you all the times I would stop in there looking, drooling over the dirt bikes and 4-wheelers. You know, as I got older, I got to see how involved the Bromley family were involved in our community. I'm just so sad to see them go, and I personally want to thank their entire family for all their years of dedication and friendship. Please take care of your mother. I know you guys will, and good luck with all of your future endeavors. And that's all I have, other than once again thanking everybody on the board for supporting the Back to Blue run/rally. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Kim. And I think Mr. Bromley also is on one of our Hometown Heroes banners.
Well, he sure is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and these guys, they've been here forever, right? Forever. I mean,
Yeah.
you know the family. It's just,
Yep.
oh God, it's so sad
It is a sad day.
to see them go. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows this, but out of all the businesses that are here in Lower Southampton, I would just guess to say underneath the same ownership, same family, they have to be one of the longest lasting run businesses in the township. Maybe Ed might know, but 61 years, same family. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Ed, the only reason why I say that is not because of your age. It's just because I know you're involved with the Feasterville Businessmen's Association. So you probably have your finger on the pulse with that kind of stuff. But 61 years in business, that's amazing.
Well, the one thing that's very interesting is the old man Bob Bromley. He said Feasterville and Lower South should have been called Trevose.
Oh yeah.
And he would go crazy when everybody called it Lower South or Feasterville.
Yeah, well,
he was a tremendous man, though.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
They lived in Trevo, so it wasn't, everything was Trevose with him.
Yeah, it absolutely was.
Yeah. He's it's sad that he passed, quite a few years back. That was another sad day for the family and the community. But now they're taking care of their mother, and they're doing a good job of it, I'm sure. So.
I actually had coffee with him just about every morning at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, he was always
And
doing
I
that.
was at his funeral.
Well,
him and his buddies were always there.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm with them. I'm part of the group.
A funny story about Mr. Bromley. He was always in our place, and on our menus, we've always had, where the second cup of coffee is always free. So he would come into the restaurant just to razz my father up. They were buds. They were buds from way back. But he would love to come in with his couple friends, and they would always ask for the second cup of coffee first. So he wouldn't have, it was just a joke. And my dad would say, "Oh yeah, funny, Bob. Okay, yeah, sure." But he was a character. He always had a story, always talking about the old times, how things have changed in the area, and things, clock never stops ticking. Things always change. But it's going to be very sad to see them go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a big man in the FBA too. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
He was always there, always willing to do whatever it took.
Always.
And donations, he used to give donations all over the place.
Yeah. Great family. So sad.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
Thanks for that testimonial.
Yeah.
Mr. Shannon,
What? No.
it's your turn.
No, I just want to say the Mannion Run is terrific. I haven't been able to be at it most times, but that's a very, very nice thing. And it's this Saturday is hopefully the weather's good. Ray, I want to thank you big time for the cops on Sunday, the honoring the cops. And Lanny, I wasn't sure whether she helped you or didn't help you, but she was always there. And she had some interesting comments to me anyway. The new run, Kim, great idea. Hopefully it works out extremely well, and you've done a lot of work on that, and that's terrific. I just want to mention one other thing about Connie and the employees at the township. Boy, this is nothing against the cops because they're always there, but Connie is one of a kind. She always ran the parade. She's still around, by the way. I'm not talking about her going away, but all of the employees are just so upbeat and positive and want to do the right things for us and for themselves and for the township. And I just want to thank all of them for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And I'll close out with, I don't want to belabor the Back to Blue event that was on August 30th, but I want to thank the board for supporting that endeavor, for the hundreds, 200 people, give or take, that showed up. It was a tremendous show of support for our police department. It was a beautiful day, and thank you everyone for coming out. And Kim, it's a great idea, and that you're holding another one, and to garner more support. And thanks for pulling all that together, because logistically it is something to pull all this together. And to pull all that together to show our support for our men and women in blue is a great thing. So thank you. And the 9/11 Heroes Run, I won't say much more about that other than please sign up tonight by midnight or you won't be able to run. Midnight is the deadline. And remember, anybody that signs up, or any donations that are made, benefit the Lower Southampton's Veterans Advisory Council. And all the money that goes to the council is then funneled back into veterans programs and veterans in need that are in our community. So you can actually benefit people in our own community, veterans that have served our country, by participating in the run. And last but not least, our township manager, Joe, brought up about Mascaro. And I think everyone has noticed an improvement in Mascaro's services. 20 days ago, Pat Mascaro, the president of the company, met with the township managers and the chairs of the board of Lower Southampton, Upper Southampton, and Northampton for a few hours. And Pat laid his heart on the line and promised to get this mess straightened out once he got enough crew members back on board. And he laid his reputation online, and I mean, he was really passionate about it. And it seems like he's owning up to his word. So I want to thank that company for trying to fix the reputation and the beating that they've taken over the last 4 or 5 months.
And I've known Pat for quite some time, and he's nothing but a gentleman.
He is, and
he'll go way overboard to make sure that this thing is fixed and fixed correctly.
He was there. He was pounding his fists on the table. He looked like he was going to start crying. He was so upset.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guy was completely believable, and he's lived up to his word. So thank you. Yeah.
He's a nice man, and they're
is.
a good company.
Yeah. That's all I have. If no one else has anything, then we would need a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion
Sorry,
made by someone.
Yeah, go ahead.
Made by Miss Kaplan. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Shannon for sure. We'll do a vote. Roll call. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Koutsaratis?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Finally.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I vote yes. Meeting's adjourned with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, everyone, for participating, and we'll see you on September 23rd.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.